In 2005, I felt the call of duty again, this time of being service to my country in the halls of Congress. My students inspired me to run for that office, and I was proud to make it to Washington. I was a member of the Veterans Affairs Committee and a champion of our men and women in uniform.
Champion? Really? You want to use that word?
I'm going to say it again as clearly as I can. I am damn proud of my service to this country.
Nobody's questioning you on that. Nobody has questioned you on that. They're all just wondering why you were lying about what you did.
You should never denigrate another person's service record. To anyone brave enough to put on that uniform for our great country, including my opponent, I just have a few simple words. Thank you for your service and sacrifice.
Plays the victim and tries to play the high road, which is not accurate.
Then in 2005.
So nobody was questioning his service or anything like that. We always, it's
like, why were you lying about it though? Like, yeah. I just don't know why you have to lie. I was actually talking to my brother about this the other day. So if you guys don't know, both of my brothers are in the military, and both of them are hardcore Republicans. Yeah. But that regardless of that, like especially my brother Mike, he is very, very like, don't mess with veterans type of deal. Like, let's be a little understanding of, why they do the things they do. But anyways, so he was even for the most part when I was talking to him about it, he's like, look, man, like Walz, he did get to I think E7 or E8. He's like, that's an achievement in and of itself. He's like, he was in for a long time and all this other stuff. And he's like, but the thing is, though, what I don't like is, like, you can say he was over. He's like, but he wasn't over in like the thick of it or anything like that. He went to like, what was it? Italy? I think it was Italy's where he was stationed. He's like, yeah. So he went over for a vacation for the most part. He's like, even now, he's like, when I see people go to Kuwait, for God's sake, like, he's like, Kuwait is basically a vacation spot at that point. Like, we're just stationed over there just to make sure that, if, we need to support an area that's actually in the shit of it, like, we have bases that we can, like, leapfrog to and get supplies to them. So he's like, I won't ever knock someone for that, because I understand. He's like, I've done that already, where like I've been at a spot where there was nothing happening. But he's like, for the most part, I was in the sandbox. And he's like, you cannot claim that you used weapons of war and you did this and that when you weren't in the sandbox. He's like, that's not something that a respectable veteran does. He's like, that's not a thing that you should ever do, because what happens is, he's like, in a real veteran circle, we all make fun of that guy. We don't ever say like, hey, you didn't serve. He's like, because there's a difference. There's a difference. Like, if you go and you make that sacrifice to go serve, and he's like, because he's in a motorcycle club that's a veteran motorcycle, only veterans can join. So he's like, even in our motorcycle club, we allow veterans who have not gone into the sandbox to come and join us. He's like, but the thing is, though, those people aren't also bragging like they were over and saw the same shit that some of my other men have seen. Yeah. Like, he's like, because Mike's like I've washed blood out of helicopters. Like, that is not what Tim Walz has done. It's just not. Yeah. And he's like, so to claim that type of stuff, he's like, although he's technically not doing stolen valor, what he is doing is bullshitting about how important he was. And he's like, those people get made fun of, and those people deserve to be made fun of for what they do. Yeah. And so, like, listening to what Mike was saying about it, I've kind of come to this whole thing with Tim Walz, where it's like, all right, I get it. You earned what you earned. But where I'm starting to see that you're a piece of shit, because what people don't realize is, just because you're in the military doesn't mean that you can't be a piece of shit.
It's like, true.
The military does not change you into a good person. What the military does is when they like send you through basic and all that, they break you down and build you up to a point where you can survive over there. type of where you can survive the shit of it. And so they only, for the most part, enhance like your most prominent features. So like if you're like a very aggressive whatever type, yeah, they'll feed into that. Like but instead of just like wild aggression, it's focused aggression.
Right.
And if you're like if you go in and you're like a very assertive asshole, you're going to be 10 times the assertive asshole when you come out of basic training and all that. It's just going to be a more focused and refined version of it. So
Right.
Tim Walz was probably always a piece of shit and always whatever. But when he came out, he just was a more refined version of that piece of shit.
Yeah, just
Like,
claiming something he wasn't. That's what we're saying. It's like you're not that thing, but you keep saying you are that thing. I think that takes away from people who actually were in that position. And they
Right.
even interview. We watched the video on our one stream. They interviewed the guy who kind of took Tim Walz's position after he abandoned them, because when they heard they were going to be deploying, that's when he backed out and decided to run for Congress. And they're just kind of saying like, hey, look, no one's taking away from your service, but you did abandon your men when they needed you most, and then you claimed to be their leader when you weren't. That's the problem. And even the one of the people in his platoon or whatever you want to call it died. The mom speaking out now saying this thing was disrespectful to her son and all that. And JD Vance will bring his response up actually. He says, hi, Tim, thank you for your service, but you shouldn't have lied about it. You shouldn't have said you went to war when you didn't, nor should you have said you didn't know your unit was going to Iraq. Happy to discuss more in the debate.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much what. So I didn't even know he posted this, but that's pretty much what Mike said. Mike was like, "You just don't lie about it. Like why? Like as I said, like in the veterans circle, Tim Walz would just be made fun of. Like he would just be made fun of for, oh, really? So were you over there? Really? Oh, tell me about what your first convoy was like, or what your first this or that. And like they would pick specific things that they know they could catch him on, and then when he obviously answers incorrectly, they would berate and belittle and make fun of him until he realized, oh, maybe I shouldn't fucking lie about what I did.
Yeah.